You could call it my worst nightmare the day I realized I was completely lost. Lost and consumed with selfishness. I started drinking when I was about 14. I was a selfish kid and all I thought about was myself. After a few times of drinking, I craved the feeling alcohol gave me. I had opened the door to a life of sin and did not look back. Over a period of 6 years, drinking led to different drugs, and each of these drugs, I dove all the way in. Cocaine, ecstasy, and marijuana. The numbing sensation that made reality temporarily fade away sucked me in. I was unlike most kids who drank or used drugs socially. I used when I was with friends, but mostly when I was by myself. I didn't do it for the attention, I did it for the feeling. I was trapped by the desire to please myself, and I became so distant that I didn't even know who I was. God was the last thing I thought about. In fact, I had completely tuned him out. At the time, I was sure my life was fine. I kept my problem to myself, and I didn't feel anyone had the right to butt in my business. My family and the people around me definitely knew I had changed. By the time I was 20, I had a good job where I was a mentor, and I trained agents in a call center for Dish Network. I had a nice 3-level apartment and had bought one of my dream cars, a black Audi TT. However, life and drugs don't mix. I turned 21 and things changed very quickly. I lost my apartment and sold most of my furniture. I moved in with a friend's family and quit my job a few months later. Next, I said goodbye to my car and somehow managed to acquire over $30,000 in debt. I sold anything I could to keep up with my cravings for drugs. At the time, I was careless and numb to everything happening. Christmas in 2007 was the start of God transforming my life. My dad gave each of my brothers and sisters a book for Christmas, The Ultimate Gift. I don't think my dad will ever know what an ultimate gift that book was. Up until that Christmas, I hadn't worked for 7 months. I did absolutely nothing with my life and I had no motivation. Days would go by and I would just sit in my room and do nothing but think. Just after Christmas one night, I sat down and I read straight through the book my dad gave me. As soon as I had finished reading it, I set the book down and I had hope. For the first time, I started dreaming and I asked God what he wanted me to do with my life. I began praying and talking with God, and I knew drugs could not be a part of my life. On January 7th, I made a commitment to God and myself that I would never drink or do drugs again. With a broken heart, I pleaded with God and asked him to help me change my life. Quitting drinking and doing drugs is probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. An overwhelming sense of fear hit me, and it made sobriety seem very impossible. I started attending church again here at Grace. I bought my first Bible and attempted reading it. It had been since I was a kid since I had a Bible, and I didn't even know where to start. I saw in the bulletin that a college group started meeting on Thursday nights here at the church. I started attending Bible study and met some awesome people who are now some of my very good friends. Pastor Rick's challenge to read through the Bible in 90 days truly rocked my world. I finished in 90 days, and it jump-started my new relationship with God. At first, I wasn't even sure how to start putting my life back together. I felt so lost, and every thought was filled with doubt. I continued to pray, and God blessed me with a job. I was still without a car, but had faith God would take care of me. For 7 months, it took me 2 hours each way to get to and from work. I still had my legs, and I became a pro at taking the bus and light rail. It is so amazing what God can do when you give your life to him. January 7th, I celebrated 1 year of sobriety, and I'm completely blown away at the blessings God has given me. I have a car again, I'm starting to pay off my debt, and one of the greatest gifts, I love to be around my family. God's grace is so unreal. Hebrews 13:5 is almost a theme for my life. It says, "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, 'Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.'" God never left me. It was me who turned my back on God. I searched and tried to create happiness. I've learned that everything apart from God is meaningless. My Savior has answered my prayers. I want to say thank you to my parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, and everyone who prayed for me in my darkest times. Your prayers helped save my life.